All right, let's kick off another deep dive. And today we are going to be looking at some really interesting stuff in quantum computing. We've got this super cool article from the California Institute of Technology, and basically it's all about this new chip. One of the biggest things holding back quantum computing is all the errors they get, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So this new chip called Ocelot, it might just be the thing that makes these quantum computers way more reliable.
Yeah, that's right. And you know what that means? It means
they can finally live up to?
Yeah, it means we unlock that potential.
Exactly. All those amazing things people have been talking about.
Exactly. All the advancements. Yeah.
So this is going to be pretty fascinating. I'm excited to jump in.
Yeah, me too. It's a really, really cool development. And you know what I think makes this so interesting is that it gets at like the heart of the problem with quantum computing. So, you've probably heard this before, but these computers, they work on like these crazy principles of quantum mechanics. And because of that, they can solve problems that would take like normal computers, forever.
Years and years.
Yeah, I mean, like literally eons to solve. But there's a catch, right?
There's always a catch.
Always a catch. They are so sensitive, like even the tiniest little vibration or like a change in temperature, it can totally mess things up.
It's almost ironic in a way, right?
It is. It's like
we've got these machines that could like revolutionize medicine,
materials,
materials,
science,
all this stuff.
everything.
But then like a random cosmic ray comes along.
It just ruins the whole thing.
Yeah, exactly. So how are researchers even trying to, make them tougher, more robust?
Well, a lot of focus has been on this thing called error correction.
Mm-hmm.
In like regular computers, the ones we use every day, we use these things called redundant bits. And what those do is they protect against errors. It's kind of like having, backup copies of your data.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, but with quantum computers, things get, a little more complicated. Because you see, qubits, they can exist in like multiple states at the same time. Like it's this wild concept called superposition.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
Yeah, so to check for errors, you need a ton of extra qubits, like way more than you'd think. And this creates like this massive overhead problem. It's been like a real bottleneck for the whole field.
So it's not just about building bigger quantum computers then.
No, not at all.
It's about making them way better at like handling those errors.
Exactly.
And that's where this Ocelot chip comes in, right?
That's where it comes in. That's the exciting part.
So what makes it so different? Like what's the secret sauce?
So the Ocelot chip, it was developed by AWS and Caltech, and they're using this totally new type of qubit. They call it a cat qubit.
Okay, now I got to ask.
Yeah.
Cat qubit. Why cat?
Yeah.
Are these things like as unpredictable as my cat?
Well, not exactly, no. The name, it actually comes from this famous thought experiment, Schrodinger's cat.
Oh, yeah.
Where the cat is,
both dead and alive.
Dead and alive at the same time. So these cat qubits, they can be in two big states at the same time.
Okay.
And that's what makes them so special. So imagine like a swing set, right?
All right. Yeah.
And the swing is going like really high on one side or the other. Those big swings, those are like 1 and 0 in the quantum world. And with this cat qubit, it's really hard to make it swing just a little or not at all.
Okay.
Unlike, a regular qubit.
So instead of just flipping between 1 and 0 like an on-off switch,
Right.
they're more like this sturdy swing that's hard to knock off balance.
Yeah, you got it.
And that makes them less likely to have errors.
Exactly. It's because of that built-in stability. See, cat qubits, they're built using these things called superconducting circuits. They're made of microwave oscillators. And because they represent 1 and 0 as these really strong, stable amplitudes of oscillation, they're way less likely to get these things called bit flip errors. Those are like one of the main types of errors that mess up quantum computers.
Oh, okay. So the design itself is like a shield against those errors.
Yeah, you could say that.
That's pretty cool.
It's very clever.
And I love the name, too. Ocelot. It's like, a cat, obviously.
Right.
But it also kind of sounds like oscillator.
It does. It's a nice little play on words.
Yeah, very clever. But what I really want to know is, how do these cat qubits actually change how we do error correction?
Oh, good question. Well, because these cat qubits are so good at fighting off those bit flip errors, we can really focus on the other kind, those face flip errors.
Okay.
And the cool part, we can use a way simpler method, like what they use in normal computers.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's called a repetition code, and it needs way fewer qubits than those super complex methods we've been using.
So instead of having like a whole army of qubits just to make sure things are running smoothly,
Right.
you just need a small, like, special forces team.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a crack squad of qubits.
I like that. So I'm starting to see why this is such a big deal.
Oh, it is. It is. The Ocelot architecture, it could cut down the number of qubits you need for error correction by like 90%.
90%.
90%.
Wow, that's huge.
It's huge. Think about it. Quantum computers could get way more efficient and probably a lot cheaper to build, too. That means more people can use them.
More research, more breakthroughs.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so 90%, that's a total game changer.
For sure.
So let's get into the nitty-gritty. What's actually going on in this Ocelot chip? Like, what's under the hood?
So the chip they tested, it had 5 of these cat qubits, and they added these special circuits, these buffer circuits, to keep those oscillations stable.
Keep them swinging.
Yeah, keep them swinging.
Yeah.
It's like those bumpers they have at the bowling alley, to keep the ball going towards the pins.
Oh, yeah, I see.
Nice.
So keeping those oscillations steady is super important.
Super important.
What else is going on in there?
Okay, so besides those 5 cat qubits and the buffers, they also have these 4 other qubits. They're called ancillary qubits.
Okay.
And their job is to be like error detectors, specifically looking for those phase flip errors.
Right.
The ones we were talking about earlier.
Gotcha. So 5 cat qubits, some bumpers to keep things stable, and then 4 error detectors, all in this tiny little chip.
All on this tiny little chip. It's pretty incredible when you think about it.
It really is. It is. But the big question is, does it actually work? Like, what happened when they tested it?
So they put their findings in the journal Nature, and the results are honestly really promising. That repetition code, it was super good at catching those phase flip errors.
Nice.
And get this, when they went from 3 cat qubits to 5, the performance got even better.
Oh, wow. So more cat qubits, less errors.
Exactly.
Exactly.
That's awesome. But what about those, those bit flip errors, the ones cat quids are supposed to be so good at resisting? Did any of those sneak through?
Ah, that's the best part. Those bit flip errors, they stayed super low the whole time.
Really?
Yeah, which just shows you how stable these cat qubits are. They
Oh,
totally live up to the hype. That's so cool. So this Ocelot chip, with its super stable cat qubits, it looks like it could be the real deal. It could really tackle this whole error problem in quantum computing.
I think so too.
But let's zoom out for a second.
Okay.
What does this all mean for the future of quantum computing? I mean, we talk about all these amazing possibilities, but it all feels a bit, far off sometimes.
Yeah, I get that. It's important to remember we're still pretty early on in the whole quantum computing game. It's not like we're all going to have quantum computers on our desks next week.
Right.
But I think the Ocelot chip, it shows us that we're on the right track. It's a big step towards building practical quantum computers that can actually, solve real-world problems.
You're talking about those big changes we talked about earlier, like in medicine material science.
Yeah, exactly. Imagine designing new medicines that are like perfectly targeted, or creating brand new materials with properties that we can't even imagine right now. Or what if we could fight climate change by coming up with totally new clean energy solutions? It's mind-blowing when you think about it.
Yeah, the possibilities are pretty much endless.
They really are. It's a journey with so much potential. And things like this Ocelot chip, they show us that the future of quantum computing is bright and probably a lot less error-prone.
Yeah, less errors, more breakthroughs.
Exactly.
This is really exciting stuff. But let's bring it back down to earth for a second and think about our listeners. I think what this deep dive has really shown us is that progress in quantum computing, it's not just about building like bigger and faster machines.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. It's about making sure they actually work,
Right, reliability.
Reliability, exactly. And that's what makes this Ocelot chip so exciting. It's like it's showing us that we can make these things reliable.
Yeah, and if they're reliable, then they can actually be useful.
Exactly. And then all those amazing applications we talked about, they actually become possible.
Like we could actually see those changes happening in the real world.
Right. In medicine, material science, all those fields.
It's pretty mind-blowing when you really think about it.
It is. And those are just the ones we know about, There are probably tons of other applications we haven't even thought of yet.
Yeah, that's the exciting part. So where else could this technology take us? What other fields could it totally change?
Well, let's see. Finance, for one. Imagine what quantum computers could do for, modeling financial markets, or managing risk.
That's a good one. What about AI? Could we see like a whole new kind of AI powered by quantum computers?
Oh, absolutely. Quantum computers could help us create these super sophisticated AI algorithms. We could see huge breakthroughs in machine learning and natural language processing.
It's crazy to think about all the possibilities.
It really is.
But this deep dive, it hasn't just been about the tech itself. It's also been about like the journey. The amazing work that researchers are doing, like the team behind the Ocelot chip.
Oh, for sure. They're the real heroes here, pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
Yeah, and that brings us back to you, dear listener. What about you? If quantum computing really does become like widely available, what are you most excited to see? What problems do you hope it'll solve? What possibilities really get you thinking?
We've just started to explore what this technology can do. It's like a vast, uncharted territory full of potential and waiting to be discovered.
So keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep that curiosity alive, right?
Absolutely. Because who knows, maybe one of you listening right now will be the one to make the next big discovery in quantum computing.
Yeah, you never know. Well, that's it for this deep dive. Thanks for joining us.